Hi everyone, welcome to Cheltenham Chart, episode 19, and I hope you won't mind if I deal with the bet that was put up during the week. Lastly on the video, firstly we'll deal with Tullyhill's win on Sunday, how that's affected the markets in the novice hurdles. Then we'll go through my thoughts on some of the open races on day 3 and 4, and then finally we'll deal with the implications of the bet in the final part of the video. So when I talked about this race last week, I was expecting to be talking about no flies on him and how he's affected the market for the Supreme and the Ballymore. But there was a big gamble on Tullyhill for Willie Mullins, and he won the race very easily. Now, no flies on him. I don't think we could buy a bet on him. No one wanted him. It was clear he's had some sort of setback to be drifting as markedly as he did in the market from, I think overnight he was about 5 to 4, 6 to 4, out to 9 to 2. So he was really unfancied. And I think his display can be marked up a little bit. But to deal with Tullyhill, initially after the race, he was priced up at 10 to 1. He's now into 4 to 1, 7 to 2, non-runner, no bet. So he's affected the market a lot. He's affected the market in the Ballymore and in the Albert Bartlett as well. And it means that you can't really have a bet in any of these races until you know where Ballyburn will go now. It's not to say that Ballyburn will win whatever race he's in, but he affects the prices of every horse in those two races. And he affects the prices in the Albert Bartlett, because if he did go to the Ballymore, he would see probably defections to the 3 mile race with horses trying to avoid him. And you'd also see defections into the Supreme from horses trying to duck into that race. I'm not sure he's as certain to win as Cheltenham as some would have you believe, but Ballyburn really is affecting all these markets. It means you can't really have a bet in any of them. As for Tullyhill's performance, it was visually impressive. He's won really nicely. He's turned his form inside out over his last 2 runs. Now, even if Ballyburn didn't run in the Supreme, I'm not convinced I would back Tullyhill. I can't quite put my finger on it. Maybe it's just the lingering doubts about what he did in his first hurdles performance and in the second half of his second one. You know, he's clearly got an engine, but has this horse really got the jumping to win at the Cheltenham Festival in a championship novice race? I just don't know if I could back him at that sort of prices, because once you take Ballyburn out, he's going to be even shorter. You wouldn't back him with Ballyburn in at the moment unless you had inside information that Ballyburn wasn't going. So Tullyhill and this performance has affected all 3 novice hurdle events greatly, and you can't really bet with any sort of confidence on any horse in any of those races now, because you don't know if you're getting value. You don't know if you've backed a horse who could come in here and suddenly become, you know, the even money favourite. It just is very, very difficult with Tullyhill. Now, he's muddied the waters by coming into this race, because now nobody knows if Ballyburn will run in the Supreme or not, whereas before this race, Ballyburn was almost certain to run in the Supreme. So that's all I have to talk about on that, really. Just that Tullyhill has muddied the waters quite a bit in all 3 novice hurdle events. I talked about some of the races on day 1 and 2 in the last video, and I'll talk about some of my fancies for day 3 and day 4, and we'll get on to why I'm discussing my fancies now, because as you saw, I put a bet up for the festival. Now, I am humming and hawing about whether to put bets out the bank like I have done in previous years. I really wish I hadn't put the bet up, and I'll get on to that in the next part of the show. But I will talk about the races on day 3 and day 4 that and my fancies and the possible bets that I would put up, depending on whether I'm chasing that £60 loss or not. The turners, I think you really need to wait till nearer the day to see what runs in this. You need to see the vibes on Iroko and how the betting's going on that horse. Is he fancied? Does Gaelic Warrior run in the race? Very difficult to make any sort of judgment in that race. Per temps, I did like the bet that Steve Smoking Cheltenham put up yesterday on Claytus Pulo, but I wouldn't be getting involved in the race at the moment. It will depend on the final field. Nicky Henderson may get walking on air into this race. He's in a qualifier later this week. So, yeah, that's another race where you need the final field. The Ryanair the betting will change a lot on this race if Banbridge runs or doesn't run. At the moment, you'd think the ground is highly likely to be quite soft, and it's whether Banbridge will take his chance or not that's going to be quite open for debate. I haven't got a selection in this race at the moment due to I just can't see an angle into the race. I did Appreciate It before his last run. That was very poor. I just really don't see much angle into that race. The Stairs Hurdle. Now, the worry is that I like Irish Point. Now, if it does come up soft, like we talked about, then I'd be hard pushed to be saying to back a horse who's only won a really slowly run race over 3 miles in deep, deep ground, where his stablemate will be far better fancied than Tupu, because he'll like the ground. So it will be more a waiting brief on both of those. I've talked about Percival Galwa. He would be a fancy of mine. Now, it remains to be seen what the British handicapper will give him. I've talked about this horse before. I think everybody knew that I would personally back him myself. I didn't really know if I was going to bet out of a bank this season. He would have been a horse that I would have put up earlier in the season, but you can't claim those sort of things. But definitely Percival Galwa would be a horse I'd be extremely interested in, as long as his price was around 6, 7 to 1. You can currently get 8s, but that's anti-post. You'd have to worry about his jumping a little bit. He's fallen at Leopardstown last time out, and he also fell earlier in the season. So I do think he's well handicapped, and he's a horse I've had my eye on for quite a while. I do like quite a few JP handicappers. I'm wondering if he's going to have a big year in the handicaps this season. The plate, I didn't really see much in the plate at the moment that I would be looking at backing. The mare's Novice is quite difficult, I think. It looks a 3-way go. I wouldn't be really interested myself in Dysart Enos, so I'd be between the 2 Irish fillies, Jade de Grugy and Brighter Days Ahead. I think the confidence from Elliott is quite telling. He hasn't been this confident or bullish about one for a while. It does make you think that she's better than even you're seeing at the moment on the track. But it's hard to go against Jade de Grugy, who looks the now horse. I wouldn't like to call it, and I don't know if I'd be having a bet, because when you've got such confidence behind both horses and another danger in the race. So probably my biggest fancy on the Thursday would be at the moment Percival Galwa, but I'd say I'm going to be waiting. I probably will have, obviously on the daily videos, I'll have more selections than just Percival Galwa, but I think the ground's going to make a big difference, and the final fields, etc. in these races. For now, I have probably more stronger opinions on the Friday. In the Albert Bartlett, between 2 really, and they're not Irish horses either. I quite like Captain Teague. To be honest, I think it would be Captain Teague for me if he hadn't been in that really grueling shallow hurdle. The horses coming out of that race are not running well. Now, Nichols is a master at getting them ready for one target, and he won the race last year. So Captain Teague high on the list. And the other one high on the list is Shanna Bob for Nicky Henderson. I wasn't overly taken with this win at Cheltenham, but when you look at the form of it now, when you see Kerry Hill, who won the River Dawn, well back and forth, then he's probably a lot better than I've given him credit for. And I like him as a horse, Shanna Bob. So I'm between the two there. I really couldn't call it. Sergino in the Triumph is too skinny, but he created a huge impression on me. I think I wouldn't want to back against him, but you can't back him at that price either at the same time. I'm going through the Nicky Henderson handbook here because I fancy Under Control in the county. The other horse I looked at was Absurd, but you don't know his handicap mark yet. But Under Control is handicapped already on 139. I think this is possibly a 150 mare. I was really disappointed when she lost in the fielding, although I think something went wrong there. Now, she had a wind up, she came back and she was second to Ashro Diamond. Now, you put Ashra Diamond in the county, and I think a lot of people would fancy her. So, for me, I really do like Under Control in the county. I was actually contemplating this as a bet, but you could only back this horse non-runner, no bet. For all of a sudden, this horse was occasional blue with certain bookmakers. For the past week, we've had possible blue on Under Control. Yet today, I see 14-1. And the horse going out on Unibet, who sponsor the yard. And I can't go near it now because I keep wondering. And people say, oh, they don't know anything that you don't know. But Henderson horse topped the horse up really badly yesterday. And then Unibet put the price out. Doesn't add up for me. So, yeah, Under Control would be my fancy in that race, though. The Gold Cup's difficult because Galopin des Champs is short and the one that I would probably fancy. The Fox Hunters, I've talked about Ferns Lock a lot, but he's very short, and I think the value probably lies with Premier Magic, last year's winner at 10-1, because the ground will be possibly quite similar, and he's not done anything wrong this season. So they'd be my sort of fancies at the moment on the Friday, but they're not bets, and I don't know how I will go about what I'm going to do this season. But yeah, the ones that I like are Captain T and Shanna Bob in the Bartlett, Under Control in the County Hurdle. And I think Henderson, if I'm going to have bets, Henderson's going to need to have a decent final day for me to be in any decent shape, to be honest. Finally, on to the bet that was put up on Wednesday. Now, it would be bet one due to Jeroboam Marchand being a non-runner and put up non-runner, no bet. I looked just before the race and it had 271 views. So that means 271 people saw the video. I don't know how many would have followed me in. Hopefully none, to be honest. And I do say that you shouldn't be following me in unless you've actually fancied the horse yourself. Now, the bet is extremely poor. It's lost around 16% of the bank if she runs. I thought I was being a little bit smart, and I've had my fingers wrapped for it. Now, I did think that perhaps having such a tough run on soft ground and being beaten by horses who are inferior. Now, I know I said on the video that she was wrong at the weights, but that is no excuse for the run she's put in. And you have to call a spade on your videos. Now, I think a lot of people think that I sort of worry too much about the bets, and maybe I do, but I honestly, sometimes people think, oh, I'm worrying about them too much. I actually think I'm just being extremely honest about it. I don't like the fact that if she runs now, I'm going to be £60 down. I don't like the fact that I've lost £100 on the bet that I put up on that video. because I don't like losing to the bookmakers at all. But I like to be honest, and I like to say it like it is. And I saw one other person talking about this horse on Twitter, and I was thinking, well, you've backed this, because he was trying to make excuse after excuse for the horse when there is no excuse for the horse. It doesn't matter if it was heavy ground. The trainer and the jockey ran the horse on that soft ground. It doesn't matter if it was right-handed, because she'd finished third to Lossiemouth last season right-handed. What does matter is that they ran it on desperate ground at 1-3, and it got thrashed. And I'm not sure why they still think going to Cheltenham's a good idea after that run. But the problem is, if they do go to Cheltenham, she's 16-1. In my book, she'd be 100-1, to be honest. I feel this horse is at no chance now. So, should she run at Cheltenham, then, you know, I wouldn't be saying, oh, she's running, it's okay, maybe she'll do okay, maybe she'll place and get her money back. No, she will not. This is money lost if she runs. The only way I get a return from this bet is if she's a non-runner. So, if she runs, I have £340 left in my bank, and then I have to play the game like I've played the game for the last 3 years, where I've been behind and I have to try and get it back. It won't be in a wild fashion either. It'll be to try and make a profit. But should she not run and we get the £60 back, there is a very big chance that after being so lucky with this terrible bet, that I may just make the videos fun, put up fun videos with my selections on, maybe giving out a lucky 15, asking for the comments from the people who back the horses as well. And maybe I should look to enjoy my festival, placing my own bets, but not worrying about a bank. Should she run, then I have no choice. I have to play the game, because I'm not going to leave it at minus £60 on an absolutely shocking bet. I've got to go then in, you know, and I'm not like, I wouldn't be giving up. Like I say, I'm like, I might seem like, you know, when I put a bad bet off, I'm down. That's because I've lost. But I will try to win that £60 back, because we've won lots of money on this video, and I'm not giving up an unbeaten record without giving it a fight. But should she not run, I might just take the pressure off completely and just say, right, that's it, I'm going to enjoy Cheltenham now. Here's my selections. And you've heard some of them already. Anyway, you know, unless things change in races, that there's a few concrete ones that I really do fancy myself, like Monty Star on the Wednesday. I do like that horse. Il Atlantique, it will depend a lot on Ballyburn, whether I talked about Il Atlantique on the last video and Monty Star. This video, Percival de Galway, I've already backed the horse, and I'm not going to get the 12-1 I've got already, so it will be a case of these horses will possibly be bets if Gala Marceau runs and I'm £60 down from the start. But if I'm not, then, you know, they'll still be my selections on the day, I would think. I can't see me changing my mind on Monty Star. I definitely fancy Percival de Galway, whether, you know, there's a better handicapped horse in the race. But I've already backed Percival de Galway personally, under control. If she goes to the county hurdle, I would imagine I'll fancy her. Possibly if she ran at Kelso, maybe not so much. Shanna Bob or Captain Teague, I'd have to make my choice then. I don't know. Like I say, it would have been Captain Teague if you hadn't run in that attritional Charlo. But now, you know, it would be 50-50 on those horses. So, yeah, what I'm saying is, like, the decision on Gala Marceau's participation is going to change how I do the videos. If I get lucky, the get out of jail card gets played, and I just say, right, okay, well, I've put an absolutely atrocious bet on. I've got out of it, luckily, with my money back, and I'm just going to give you my selections this season. If I don't get to play that get out of jail card, then we're in for a penny and in for a pound, and it's game on with £340, and let's see what I can do to get that 60 quid back. So thank you for watching Cheltenham Chat this week. I'll be back at some point next week. I don't know the exact plans, but I'm at home until after Cheltenham. I will be doing daily previews. Whether I'll be doing daily bets, well, if anyone's within earshot of Willie Mullins can please have a word and tell him that Gala Marceau, there's no point in the petrol, there's no point in the entry fees. Just look for another target, perhaps in France, because that was the race that made me see that that was a good bet. I saw the race in France. She beat Zarek the Brave, and that was the one that tipped the scales and thought maybe over 2 miles for she could do it. Finally today, before I go, I did get a Twitter reply from Shane, and he was saying that Gala Marceau was not my worst bet, that Tamura's was. Now, of course, we've got plenty losers in this winning run. We've had plenty losers. We've just managed to get by and get through, but I don't know if Tamura's was a worst bet, to be honest. He only went from 10s to 12s, and yeah, he was a poor selection, and he'll be the worst bet if Gala Marceau does run. She'll be the worst bet, but if she doesn't run, then I get my money back. She's not a bad selection anymore. So anyway, waffled on too long. Thank you for watching. Bye for now.